I'm Merra Lee Moffitt, and I'm going to talk to you about Get Paid Now, avoiding collection problems. A lot of the topics that I've talked about with communicating early and often, invoicing early and often, help the client pay on time and get in the habit of paying you. So if you're working on a really long project, if they're paying you, and also the invoices are smaller if you're billing every 2 weeks, or instead of billing one large bill at the end. Interesting research shows that if you put the client phone number on the invoice, that makes them more likely to pay. There are some collection quotes that you could put at the bottom of your invoices that help the client know that if there is a collection problem and you have to take it to court, that they are liable for all of the court costs as well. It varies. Last time I did this, found it was a couple years ago. The legal wording, I'm sure, has changed, and matters what state you're in. Invoice, make it easy pay, provide pay now buttons, include payment terms, indicate whether this is the second or the third or the fourth request, because by about the third request they're like, oh, I'm sorry, I really need to get that paid because now it's coming up in urgency. Include the payment address on the invoice as well as the self-addressed stamped envelope. A lot of times, you know, in my house they get separated, and now I don't know where to send the invoice. Using correct pricing, quantity, description of what they're paying for in detail often helps, because if you I've seen some invoices where it just has one, you know, services rendered, one big item, and you're going, wait a minute, how did this bill get to be $2,000? Whereas once you start to see the detail of we tore out this section, we replaced this section, we had to go get permits for this, then they say, oh yeah, it really was that much. Avoiding collection problems, number 2. This is called check your attitude. Most people these days are honest, but they're very busy. So if they didn't pay you, it might not be because they didn't like you or didn't like the work or they didn't want to pay you. They must just be busy. Paying bills is not anybody's favorite pastime. So what's convenient for you may not be convenient for the client. They might want a different emailing address. They might want a post office. They might want a different mailing address. So, you know, when you're talking to your clients and you're following up and say, hey, tell me what's going on. I thought this would be easy for you to pay, and you haven't paid. So do I need to fix any of these things? And also, when people give you their hard luck story, because sometimes you're doing work for people who really did run out of money, the longer that you can be empathetic with them, the easier it is to get them to pay you, even if you have to get them to give you payment terms. It's when collection problems. Okay, now it's time to chase. The clients that I work with that have the most problems are the ones that they wait till bills are 6 months old before they start collecting. They start worrying about it. When they see their accounts receivable over 90 days balloon, then they say, oh, I guess we better go work on that as a project. Instead of every month you have a process of what you're going to do with the ones that haven't paid. So being prompt, having your aging report, calling after 30 days. The longer you wait to chase your money, the further down the queue you're going to get, because if they haven't paid you in 5 months, what's one more month? One of the clients that I work with is a doctor's office, and they were having a fair amount of collections problems, which really, things that we changed were that they called people promptly. They made them pay in full. by the next time that they came in. So they were always caught up, and the bills didn't get bigger. And if you're getting a runaround from the accounts payable person, maybe the person who made the sale should go talk to the person who actually purchased, because sometimes you need someone, the decision maker, to go back and say, hey, we really need to get this paid. Collection problems. Now you're frustrated, right? You've called, they promised to pay, they didn't pay, and now you're starting to get frustrated. So things where clients I've worked with, we would have somebody else make the next call so that they can say, hey, hey, my boss is going to really be mad at me if I can't get you to help me get this paid. A little, again, empathy, sending priority mail. If you're really out of money and it's really a problem, is there some kind of a barter notebook, barter opportunity, excuse me. And then there's the one I call the make 3 notebooks. One time when I had my company, I had a client that owed me $125,000 and didn't want to pay and was questioning the bills. So I made 3 notebooks of all of the parts that we did on our project, who authorized them, all of the emails that were sent, all of the status reports that were done, and the draft documents that were done. I made 3 notebooks, and I took one into the person who I did the project for, and I said, here's what we did for all this work, for all this money. You keep that. You can send it up to your accounts payable. I have 2 more. I have one for your vice president if we need to go that far, and I have another one in case we really run into trouble. So when they knew that I was prepared to escalate and go to court, and I had all of this documentation, they paid. Sometimes the apologetic letter that says, explaining that, okay, we've had trouble getting paid and we are going to have to escalate. I really have no choice, we have to escalate. Often the threat of the escalation is actually better than going to the lawyer. Sorry, Larry. But often that will be the thing that gets you paid. And again, we talked about having to pay in full before the next time you go out. And sometimes you're saying, if I don't hear from you in the next X days, I'm going to have to send this to my lawyer. And so if you get something from, Larry Miller Law Service, you'll know what that's about.